The next biggest winner is brought to you in part by... Welcome back to The Next Biggest Winner. This is our second episode from Vancouver in the World Resource Investment Conference. It's a roundup portion where we have all our guests back to talk about some macro and specific events. Guys, before I go into questions for each one of you, I want to point out the fact that we've got three great companies here, and that should be a great harbinger for investors back home. We've got your company with a fantastic amount of cash in the bank. You guys are going into production. One of your companies going into production in Q4, and on your end here, you've got Agnico Eagle, who's taking care of all the exploration expenses. So that should be a really great catalyst for everyone at home who's looking for the great side of the doom and gloom that's been on the venture lately. Let's get into some specific questions. Luke, we didn't get a chance to talk about Peru, and I'm sure there are a lot of people at home asking themselves, we see there are problems in Argentina and South America, so people aren't maybe sure of the political, what's going on in Peru, how safe is it, why are you there, and why do you like it?
Well, Peru is a great country. It's a great mining country. It's a country where the government's stated goal is to double its copper production. And we've seen a number of government initiatives related to tax and royalty reform, other permitting, regulatory changes, all of which are quite clearly focused on encouraging and facilitating the development of the mining industry. And we had Prime Minister Harper, who was just recently in Peru, and a number of initiatives that have been launched or reinvigorated related to facilitating Canadian investment into Peru. So I think it would be very hard-pressed to find another country where the government is more pro-mining than you have in Peru. That's not to say there aren't issues. There's always issues, specifically local social issues related primarily to indigenous populations. But I think it's important to remember that in places like Peru, those issues really aren't too much different than they are, for example, in Canada, or if you were in Australia or different parts of Africa. I think that's a challenge that the mining sector worldwide is facing. But we find in Peru a very, very positive environment for mining exploration and development.
So if I'm hearing you right, we're pretty much got you're pretty comfortable in saying that we've got a mining environment there that's similar as if you had your projects in Canada right now.
I would say it's more positive than it is in Canada, because the national government has focused its primary political objective of poverty reduction, has linked that quite strongly with the development of the mining sector.
Rick, you're bucking the trend, and I like this. Discovery investing seems to be passé yesterday. You're saying not at all. Discovery investing should still be an important part of investors' outlook. Tell me why you're bucking the trend.
Well, this is how people have made their fortunes in the mining industry since it began. It's the discovery that makes people fortunes. And return on investment and the attitude towards return on investment has changed dramatically. We saw it dive in 08, 09, looked very happy in 2010 heading into the spring of 2011, and literally since Greece was mentioned in my analysis, since Greece,
sorry to everybody about that.
Since Greece was mentioned and the fear in Europe, the markets have taken the juniors down again. It's flat, it's dead. And as you pointed out, there's companies out there that have the opportunity to make people fortunes. And in the old days, people took a little bit of their risk money and put it into discovery plays.
Right.
We think North American Nickel is one of those. We're looking for a Sudbury. We can't over-promote. We can't talk about anything too foolish. But I can say that people that invested in VMS Ventures in 2007 at 10 cents and 15 cents and 22 cents were very happy when it went to $1.71 and traded hundreds of millions of shares because of our discovery, the Reed Copper Project in Manitoba. And all of us are looking for that kind of return. And we're saying to our shareholders and to the broad market, remember, that's why you put that little bit of risk money into discovery plays, because if there is a discovery, and if the nickel price is $8 or $6, if Minitsoq in Greenland in our North American nickel play, we make a major discovery, the stock will go up. People will flock to it.
History does repeat itself.
History repeats itself. The hard work that goes into history repeating itself includes the investors doing their due diligence. And as we discussed earlier, the fact that the Sentient Group has done that due diligence. They're a $1 billion fund, George, and they've invested about $6 million. They're not trying to get a double here.
Yeah.
And I don't say that lightly. I mean, if you're still willing to play and look for that kind of reward. Most people have backed away from that, George. And so our push in VMS and North American Nickel is just to remind people that it's still possible.
Well, kudos to you that you're putting out the message, and I'm sure you're liking what he's saying right now.
I am indeed. Yes, I am.
Right, you're loving that. And we didn't plan that, by the way. That's just the way it worked out. So, a couple of thoughts on that, and also want to talk about your infrastructure advantages. But a couple of thoughts on what Rick had to say, given the fact that it applies so well
Certainly.
to Golden Goliath.
We're a discovery play too, and that's a very important thing. I agree completely that fortunes have been made at the discovery stage, and it's like a dream or chasing a dream. I didn't option the properties we have. I staked them all myself, working on my own coin throughout the 1980s. I spent
impressive.
8 years on my own coin, putting the package together, and then went public. And at that time, the Urawachi district was very remote. It had a very poor gravel road to get there. There was no electricity. Now there's electricity and computers throughout the town, and the government is, because of the new discovery at Arecibo, they're turning the 45-kilometer access road into a 2-lane paved highway. Fresnillo has already spent $150 million on their project, and they're going to spend another $800 million to put it into production. They're going to employ 1,500 people for a minimum mine life of 15 years. So it's a big area, and it's lots of things are going to be changing there. The lifestyle of the people is all changing, and it's going from subsistence agriculture to mining, and it's bringing wealth to the area, and it's a very good thing.
All right, so I guess we can sum it up with fortune favors the bold, that old adage, and at the same time, the Chinese always say, crisis is opportunity. Gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens with your companies in the next 2, 3, 4 years. It's really exciting. Thanks for being here.
Thank you very much, George.
Well, the show might be over, but your work is just beginning. If you think you found the next biggest winner on this show, then make sure to do some more research, talk to your financial advisor, and get to these companies' websites to do even more research. Join us next week. We're going to have 3 more great companies on our last show from Vancouver at the World Resource Investment Conference. Until then, thanks for joining us, and have a great night.
Thank you very much.
Good job.